Okay, bismillah. So here I said I'm going to put program. So the class that will have the main is going to be having the program. Close others. Muhammad, are you with me? Maybe? Yes. So this is the main. I keep it as is, and then I am going to create a new. Let's go for others because I don't see here the Java interface. I see it here. Okay, sorry. So now I see it, Java interface. So I'm going to name it instructor. That's what I want. I would like to have an interface called instructor, which has two methods, and I'm going to just go step by step and finish that. I need to select the package. Normally it should have selected it by itself, but I'll select the same package where I have the others. So everything is going to be under one same package. So I have two methods. This one and semicolon, and the other one is course and a semicolon. Now it complains, it tells me, well, I cannot find anything called course. So what should I do? I should create a new class called course, and that means it's going to help me here. If you click on this button over here, you click create class, you see there are two options. Create class course in Wk5 instructor, which means I'm going to create a class inside of the class, and this is the topic that we would like to talk about it later. Actually, it's inside an interface again, but this is not what we would like to do. We would like to create a new class. So it's going to be a new class in the package this, and then this is what is going to happen. So in that class course, I would like to have instance variables. These are the ones. So course code, credit, and title. So course code, credit, and title. So let's just put them. So the course code is a string, probably. A credit hours, most probably some int, and another string for the title. But since nothing is mentioned, just go for whatever might be the suitable data type. An appropriate accessor, mutator, and two string methods. Fine. I have exactly in source insert code. All I need to have the getters and setters, which is the accessors and mutators, and I'm going to encapsulate fields, so they're going to become private. And here they are. And also, I would like to have a toString. Just have a toString insert code and a toString method. It include all of them, and that's fine for me. There's something here also source that's called organize members, which also sorts it, but this is not. You have to do some configuration, but anyways. So I have this now. This is the toString, and this is the code. And you see, it took me less than 1 minute to create the class course. So you should be able to use NetBeans assistance, so you can just code faster and don't type everything. Don't create all the accessors by yourself or mutators by yourself. You just have the tool that generate them for you, and that works the same way. Unless you have some custom thing to do, then you generate them by default, and then you do some change if you need to do some change. But in this case, I'll have to do nothing. So I'm done with this class course. Now this is the class faculty that implements an instructor interface. So I'm going to create a new class, faculty, and this class faculty, I need to implement, and it tells me what they would like to implement. I'm just choosing the instructor. This is the one that I just created. Now, because I say implement interface, it has to implement all the methods from the interface, but then it has two additional methods: string office hours. Oh, that's hours, not horses or hours. So office hours, and also where research assistant. Okay, thank you. All right. So we were then. It has a string office hours and course teaching courses. So I'm having like these two methods, these two instance variables. So let's create them. And then Java is still complaining because I still need to implement all what I'm inheriting. So I'm implementing all abstract methods. Also, well, it doesn't give me any indication. I probably could also do something like this, or maybe just insert some code, insert source, insert code, and getters and setters. Now I'm doing something. Because of this, I don't have getters and setters. Did you notice? Now I'm seeing this getters. Why am I not seeing all of them? Because of this thing, because of get teaching courses. You see, get teaching courses is some kind of getters, and this get office hours is a getter. So it doesn't show me getters, and did not pay attention. I wasn't able to see the getters because they are already there. So it just tells me, if you want the setters, I can fix you with that. Let's just put the setters and encapsulate them. But the getters, we don't get them. So I see. Now I have in the getters, I just need to return these office hours. How about that? And this, I'm going to return the teaching hours. But of course, I did not initialize them. I'm not initializing them anyway, but I'm just returning whatever need to return. And exporting and not public. Well, I don't want to talk about this. So, well, let's see if we need to do something else, and then we'll find out. We need to have class student with string name, int, ID, and double GPA. Okay, let's create another class called student with this name, ID, and GPA. And I'm copying and pasting. That's better than just typing. But you have to know what you're doing, because you have to be careful not to make mistakes with this copying and pasting. And with accessors, mutators, and toString, find, that's easy. You just click on source, insert code, getters and setters, select them all, encapsulate, generate, done. Now I need to insert the same thing, insert code with the toString, and it's done as well. So now I'm displaying something, and let's continue. And graduate students that inherit from students with instance variable string thesis title. So I'm going to create another class which is graduate students. Okay. For consistency, I think it's better to have graduate student instead of graduate students. I'm here. Because I have a student, instructor, everything is in singular. Now let's keep everything in singular. Research assistant, everything. So, okay, save. So we said graduate student that inherits from student and has this extra instance variable. So let's inherit from student. So this graduate student finish, and it extends student, and I have this extra thesis title that I can insert the getters and setters for that, make it encapsulate, select them all, and generate. A method defend thesis as well as toString. So I have to add the method called defend thesis. So what does defend thesis do? I don't know. I'm just have some method that, let's say, for example, the thesis is defended. Well, has been, or whatever. I'm just writing something. There's nothing that tells me what to do. So if nobody tells you what to do, you're free to do something if it helps you, whatever, answer what needs to be done. So I say graduate student, so I'm just showing this thesis title. Okay, another class, research assistant, that extends graduate student, and let's have now a new, okay, new class, research assistant that extends graduate student and implements instructor interface. Oh, so then I need to implement instructor interface, and because I need to implement that, I need to implement all the abstract methods for that. So now I need to put some code in here. Well, get the office hours and everything. How do I get them? I'll see how I'm going to be doing something like that. Okay, and then I need to test this instructor. Okay. So now the test with the instructor means I need to have this is going to be the main, that contains the main method, because this test instructor will have a method that prints the office hours and teaching courses for an instructor I, and then a main method that creates the faculty and research assistants and print their teaching details. So how to do that? Well, first I need to just go back to this one that I called it program. So this program, I just rename it to test instructors, and refactor is going to change the file for me from program to the name of the class. And then we would like to have a new method, a new method print teaching details. Okay, let's have this new method. If I have it, let's put it here, for example. This new method, in order for me to use it and call it from the main, you remember what there's a condition if I'm calling a method from a static method. It has to be static as well, because I'm going to call it from here, and if it's not static, I'm not going to be able to do that. Let's just remove it and see the error happening. That prints the office hours and teaching hours for a course, and then a main that creates instances of faculty and research assistants and prints their teaching details. So what I would like to do is that this is what I'd like to do. You give me an instructor, and I'm going to print the teaching details. So how can I print the teaching details of an instructor? I dot get office hours. This is something that I get. So office hours, and then plus this. And then how about the I dot teaching courses? Teaching courses is an array. So this returns an array. What if this array, I'm just going to call it courses, equals something like that? So notice that I don't know now what's inside. I'm just saying the details of what happens. If you give me a list of courses, I need to print them all. How can I print a course? Well, you see, every course has these kind of details, and I have a toString that prints the content of these details using this toString. So what I'm going to do, I'll deal with that later. What I'm going to do is I put this get teaching courses into a variable, and then I'm going to use a for loop to display one by one each course in this list of courses. So, but I'm starting from 0 until courses dot length. Remember from the old days when we were working with arrays, well, the dot length was a very helpful variable to give us the number of elements in an array. Before we were working only with int and double arrays. Now, what prevents us from working with any kind of an array? Nothing. It's an array. The data type is mentioned here, so we're going to be using this kind of data type. Now, what happens is that for every course, so I'm going to do these courses of j. So this is going to be one of the courses, and if I do this toString, it's going to give me the way it is going to be displayed. But remember, if I don't use toString, actually the toString is going to be called anyways. So what I'm going to do is that do something like this, and list of courses is going to be something like this. So it's going to list the list of courses and print them here. Now inside the main, they told us what we need to do is that we need to create an instance of faculty and an instance of research assistants and print their teaching details. So which means I would like to have a faculty f or faculty equal new faculty, and then I'm going to just print this one. It doesn't help me because you're going to see why. Print and faculty. I have a problem. Why? It tells me non-static method print teaching details cannot be referenced from a static context, which means what I was talking about in the beginning, like earlier a little bit. This problem comes because the main is static and I'm trying to call a method that is not static, so this is not allowed. How to make it allowed? Make this static. But notice something that is strange. I put an interface as a data type here of the argument, and I put a faculty. I send it to print teaching details, and it did not complain. So which means now this faculty, with a new faculty, is going to be put inside here, and it's going to do something with it. Is this permissible? Yes. Again, inheritance is the key. And also interfaces are simulating multiple inheritance from different superclasses, let's say, but it simulates that because it's not exactly in multiple inheritance. But I'm just inheriting from faculty that inherits, from instructor, but it's not exactly inheritance, but it is something that simulates inheritance. But every faculty has get office hours and get teaching hours. But then where do they put something inside of them? Actually, for now they're empty. There's nothing, because in the constructor it doesn't tell you what kind of things. You just have to put it yourself. But what if, for example, I come here and in this faculty, before calling to print the teaching details, in this faculty I put something called dot set office hours, and I can put some office hours like Monday 1, 2, 3 and Wednesday. Let's just make it like short, so it's going to be Monday 1, 2, 3 and Wednesday, or maybe put a \n to go back to the line, and Wednesday 4, 5, 6. So now I have put the office hours there. So when I'm going to get the office hours, like from here, it's going to display this kind of information. But what about the courses? The faculty dot, I have something called set teaching courses. Well, this set teaching courses, it requires an array of courses, and I don't have that array of courses. So what I need to do, let's create the array. So I'm going to keep this like that, and then before that, before doing this, I need to have an array of courses. Teaching courses equal new course. And how many teaching courses? Well, let's keep it easy. I'm just going to put 2. Well, I'm not as courageous to put 5. I just would like to put 2. Now with these teaching courses, I'm going to put a new course for each one of those. So this is a teaching course for the first one, and the second one, new course. However, this course, they have some instance variables, but I'm not able to initialize them from the constructor. So it would be nice to have a constructor that initializes them immediately, rather than just putting them one by one. So let's have that. I'm going to insert a constructor that is going to initialize all of these. So now that I have this constructor, fine, I can go back here, and instead of using this course, I'm going to do course, and the course code, let's say cs202. The credit hours, this is 4, or it is 4, right? And the title, Introduction to Computer Science. And that's one course. And the other course is, I don't know, cs310 and 3, whatever, it's 3 credit hours, and then database systems. So now that I have initialized this table of courses, I have 2 courses in it, and when I'm setting this into the teaching courses for the faculty, then print teaching details is going to call this get office hours, which will display this kind of information, and then call this and then go through this list of courses and display them one by one, because an instructor has courses that are coming from the teaching, get the teaching courses. The what? The set? Yes, because in the set what I need to send an array of courses. That's what this set teaching courses does. It needs this set, this one over here. It said it needs an array of course, and I'm sending an array of course here. This teaching courses is an array of course, so I'm just sending it. I'm not saying how much, how many elements in that array, but it needs just an array. It doesn't matter. It doesn't want to have the exact number of arrays. Just tell it it's an array, and then what I'm doing here, I'm just getting the number, how many are there, and then I'm working with it. Now let's try to run this. Of course, this is still a problem because it tells me I need to return something. Let's just return a text for here, and here I need to return an array of. So of course, so I need to do like this, something like this. Courses equal new array. No, sorry, new course, and put like 3, whatever. I'll return courses. I did not initialize them. I just prepared them. All of them are null, but I'll send them. Now, just to avoid having this error message here, later on I'm going to find a way to deal with it more properly. Now let's run. As you can see, office hours are these, and I have that because now I'm putting these. Let's put just a space so I can have everything in one line. So office hours, these are the office hours, and then this is the result of this line. Sorry, this is the result of this line over here. And now this is going to make a loop, but before making the loop, it's just going to list the courses. This is list of courses, and then I can see the toString at work because I'm printing each course, and you can see that these are the details of each of these courses. So again, what's interesting to have a look at is that this print teaching details takes an instructor, and because faculty implements an instructor, it's like it inherits from it. It's some kind of inheritance relationship, but without the real inheritance. So I can use the interface as a data type, like this. And because this faculty and this instructor has imposed on every class that implements it to implement its 2 methods, get office hours and get teaching hours. That's why we have them, and we can use them from here, get teaching hours and get office hours. Interesting? Now let's have the same thing now with this research assistant. Now what if I would like to have the same thing, but instead now this time I would like to have a research assistant, new research assistant, and then but then it tells me, oh, there's a problem. I cannot find research assistant because I misspelled it. Now I have it right. So now research assistant should be, or is it still a problem? Oh yeah, the R is missing between A and C. So now research assistant, refactor, now it should be okay. Now this research assistant, okay, let's go back to understand. This research assistant is a graduate student that implements an instructor. So it's also inheritance also from instructor, but it has to get those get office hours and get teaching hours, the teaching courses. Now, how can I get those? Well, first of all, let's have a look at what I'm inheriting from that. So if I do something like this, what I get is that this is a get office hours and get teaching hours, which are the ones that I'm implementing because I'm implementing the interface. But also I have the get GPA, get ID, and get the name. I can set all these. So what I'd like to do is, just for the convenience, I'd like to add the constructors that are going to initialize those things. So in order for me to do that, I'm going to go to the student, and then to the graduate student, and then to the research assistant to have the constructors. Why? Because each one of them will need to get the information set from the other one. So that's why I would like to get all these from the source. This is the base class of graduate student, which is the base class of the research assistant. So I would like to benefit from using that by using the constructor. So I'm going to include the code for the constructor, which include all of these, and generate. Now every time I would like to generate a student, I need to do something like this. Remember that now I have problems with the others. You know why? Why I have problems? As soon as I save, it tells me the constructor is missing because I need a constructor to initialize those variables, plus the one that I have here. So I need a constructor that initializes all of them. Again, source insert code is going to help you with the constructor and tells you, okay, do you want also to initialize this? Yes. And when you generate, it gives me the thesis, but also what comes from the student. And personally, I don't like what NetBeans does, because I prefer to have the base class attributes first, and then the one that comes later are the ones. Because these are coming from the student, then these are some special things for me. And notice what I'm doing here, what NetBeans did. They put super name, ID, and GPA as they were given, because these are given to the superclass to initialize them. And I'm only initializing this thesis title. Right, that's good. That's a good time for a long eye close thing. If you're lost, you have to ask questions and tell me where you're lost, where I lose you, because I've been taking a very long road to arrive here. And then if there's something that you missed, you have to let me know. You have so much to say that you're speechless. Let me continue, and then I'll do a recap on all these things. So let me save this. Now that I have fixed this problem, I still have the same problem now here, research assistant. Now you see why then I started backwards, because now I need to also create a constructor that implements all these things. The name, ID, GPA, and thesis title that are going to be using the graduate students constructor. So this is now something that I can use. Now if I go here, I don't have this research assistant that has an empty. I need to put something. So let's just use that to say what kind of name. So this is the name of the research assistant. What is his ID? Whatever. His GPA. I don't know. We have up to 4. So let's just. What about that? And thesis title. Good thesis. So now that I have initialized this research assistant, now I don't need to use set name, set thesis, set ID, set GPA to put this information, because I can put it just right away in the constructor. Now there's something I'd like to do, is just I need to be able to set the teaching hours so I can be able to use them, but I don't have set teaching hours. I have only the set GPA, set whatever, or set office hours. I use instance of?
I mean, use upcasting?
Well, you can upcast it to what? Because what are the superclasses of research assistant? Graduate student or instructor with, this is a two data type that I can use. But the graduate student doesn't help me much, because the graduate student does not have any office hours. Also a student, because graduate student is a subclass of student, so student also doesn't have anything that helps me. So I need to be able to do something about it. Either I do something like this, or I can put manually some code here. Every research assistant is available, for example, on Monday 4 and 5. That's it. Now I'm setting exactly this is what every teaching assistant, research assistant is going to be having as office hours, regardless of who he is, because it's fixed. It cannot be changed somehow. Same thing for this. Well, the courses, let's just put 2 because I'm lazy again. And courses, I'm going to initialize. So these are only the courses that they can, teach. Equal new. Even if I have only one, I'm even lazier. I have only one, I can just do something like this. Course, and then the code is cs101, 3 credits, and whatever, and programming 1. That's still fine, because at the end of the day, I'm just returning something. Now, if I go back here, I'm having this print for the faculty, and I can also use that as well for the research assistant. So I don't have error messages, because a research assistant, if you look at it, it's also implementing instructor. So it can be upcasted to instructor, which is just what I'm doing here. When I'm doing this here, I'm taking a new research assistant and putting it inside an instructor. This is upcasting again. So I can use this interface to get the common classes that are implementing it, and get those common methods running. So now if I run this one, so this is for faculty. Let me just do something so it can be clear. Faculty. So it clearly shows the faculty from the research assistant. And I'm going to go back to the line twice. Again, many times. And this is the research assistant. Now if I run this, so this is coming from the faculty, and I have these are the details because this is how I entered them. And these are coming from the research assistant because this is what I entered. And when I initialize them, well, there's no way to do anything. So what did we get from all this? So you see that there are, for example, many classes that I can organize together with relationships, either just in extending, like for example, this student is just being extended by, is a superclass of only one class, or I can have a class that is extending another class and then implementing some interface, and whatever this interface behaves as if it's a super type of that type. So I can use this because, like, a faculty is also implementing instructor and a research assistant is also implementing instructor. I can use an instructor variable to store both these data types from a faculty and from a research assistant. Is that okay? I'm sure that's very fine. You're very happy to see this in the quiz. You're going to be very happy to answer questions about that. I'm pretty sure. So where is the confusion coming from?
In the class student, we talk about the student, and
Okay.
the research assistant get office hour.
Yes.
We talk about the student, right?
Yeah, but here, the research assistant, what is a research assistant? A research assistant is supposed to be a graduate student which is about to finish. It's not a student which is undergraduate student. It's like postgraduate student, and then he's working as a master's for somehow, for example, something. And then he's about to finish. That's why he can also be given some lab to teach, for example, things like that. So that's what it means. A research assistant is some kind of mix of an instructor and he's still a student. So that's why, in order for you to be able to capture all these things, this is one way to organize that. You put an instructor. Every instructor should be having office hours and teaching some courses he's teaching. So you organize them into an interface. Now this interface can be common for every faculty member, because a faculty member is supposed to teach anyways. And a research assistant is a student, is a very special student because he's a graduating student, he's a graduate student, and then he's also been able to to teach, so he's also an instructor. So that's why we would like this research assistant to be both a student, because he's still a student, he still has a student ID, he still has GPA and so on, but he's also been able to teach. We'd like to know which courses he may teach. So we would like to avoid having copy and paste. I can have some code that have this get office hours, get something, I put it somewhere, and then copy and paste, and in both research assistant and faculty. But that doesn't, that's against the purpose of trying to avoid, trying to have a more optimized code. So now the idea behind this interface, it made our life easier in terms of representing a student that can teach and a teacher. And that's why we did. With here we had, besides the other things, we have just the fact that these are two methods that we get, and it returns some results, regardless of where do we get the result from. Either we get it from a variable, or because we put it ourselves. Nothing told us what to do with the research assistant. That's why we took the liberty to do the simplest thing possible. So we did something like this. Nobody told us what the research assistant should be teaching and how is it teaching or whatever. So we did something that is convenient for us. And this is the easiest thing, so we just return, let's say return something, and we return something. But the idea is, if you look at this test, where is it? These test instructors, what is happening is both faculty and instructor and research assistant were called and were able to be put inside of a variable of a data type of an interface. And remember, an interface cannot be instantiated. I cannot do instructor I equal new instructor. But what I can do is this. I can put some of the classes that are implementing this interface. We're doing some upcasting, and I put them in that variable of type of the class, which allow me to have this kind of method that works for both data types. If I don't use this, I need to do something like this for a faculty. And I have to do again the same copy and paste and change only this to research assistant. So instead of having to have this duplicated, imagine now you have 3 classes or 4 classes doing the same, implementing this interface. Well, that's easier and more interesting to have one method that can be used by different data types. And this is thanks to inheritance, interfaces, and code reuse. That's just to be able to use the same code again in different places. But it comes to with the cost. You have to understand all these topics. So that's the cost of having some less copy and pasting. So I'm waiting for your questions. You like it so much you are speechless.